In 2025, something strange happened. During real-world protests, people were waving flags from Indonesia to Nepal to France and Philippines. But not national flags, not political symbols. They were waving the One Piece Jolly Roger.
Instead, people are hoisting black flags, the black pirate flags with skulls from One Piece.
This flag has been popping up all over the place.
Dan kalau saya punya kesempatan, saya mau pakai itu kaos One Piece atau topi One Piece. Bahkan saya juga akan mengedarkan bendera One Piece sebagai bentuk protes saya kepada masyarakat.
A fictional pirate from Japan standing for freedom in the real world. That should not make sense because anime, at least in our minds, is supposed to be entertainment, cartoons, fiction, something we watch to escape reality. And yet, here it was, inside reality itself. So the real question is not why people waved anime flags. The real question is how did anime go from children's cartoon in Japan to influencing protests, billion-dollar markets and global culture? And even more importantly, why only One Piece is popping off so much? So hold on to that question for now because we'll come back to it.
Naruto. Yeah, One Piece.
I just noticed that recently I just been going through things in my head and I was able to, turn to like anime.
I had to lean on my love of Japanese animation and the themes of that to kind of make this one creatively and visually look different.
Konnichiwa, I'm Tony, and if we want to understand anime's rise, we cannot start with characters or fight scenes. We have to start with Japan itself. So we need to travel back in time a little, before films even existed. Long before animation, Japan already had a strong tradition of storytelling through images. One of the earliest examples was emakimono. On the screen you can see how it worked. These were illustrated scrolls, used as early as the 11th century. As the storyteller slowly unrolled the scroll, scenes appeared one by one, guided by narration. The audience never saw the full story at once. It unfolded gradually, almost like frames. This matters because Japan was already experimenting with sequential visual storytelling without actual motion. Then came Kage, the shadow plays. Then the magic lanterns from the Netherlands. Then Kamishibai, where street performers slid illustrated cards, one scene at a time, pausing deliberately before the reveal. Short scenes, emotional moments and controlled suspense. Even ukiyo-e prints and bunraku puppets followed the same logic. Bold expression, exaggerated motion and instantly recognizable characters. Now, this is important because anime did not appear suddenly. The language of anime already existed. What was missing was technology. Now, when animation technology finally arrived, anime didn't begin with a clean origin story. Some historians believe that the first Japanese animated film may date back to 1907. It's called Katsudo Shashin. On the screen you can see why it's fascinating. Only a few seconds long, around 50 hand stencil frames, a boy writing the words, moving frames. But here's the problem. It was discovered only in 2005 and there are no records of public screening. So anime's birth begins with uncertainty. But what we do know is this. By 1912, foreign animated films from France and America were being screened in Japan. And this exposure mattered because it inspired Japanese artists to begin experimenting on their own. And among them, three names stand out: Oten Shimokawa, Juniichi Kochi, and Seitaro Kitoyama. They weren't trying to build an industry. They were just trying to see whether animation was even possible in Japan. And in 1917, short films like the Namakura Gatana, translated in English as a dull sword, were released. This matters because it's almost the earliest Japanese animated films that still survives today. Post-war Japan didn't just lack money, it lacked time. Television needed weekly content. Disney-level animation was impossible. So Osamu Tezuka made a radical decision. He reduced animation on purpose. Fewer frames, reused shots, and long close-ups. To outsiders, this looked like a downgrade, but Tezuka understood something critical. If you can't afford motion, shift attention to emotion. When Astro Boy aired outside Japan, it wasn't marketed as Japanese culture. It was simply shown as a cartoon. Names were localized, references were removed, and anime didn't announce itself. It blended in, and familiarity came before influence. By the 1990s, anime was popular but not respected. That changed with Studio Ghibli. Films like Totoro and Mononoke proved emotional depth, but Spirited Away did something bigger. When it won the Academy Award, anime crossed an invisible line. Studio Ghibli gave anime legitimacy. Now after these events, for years, anime remained mostly domestic, but then came Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I'm a massive Dragon Ball fan. I love it.
Goku!
Naruto! Are you finished?
Fierce, my lord. Is there something you wish to say?
Here it comes.
Dragon Ball succeeded because it removed cultural barriers. Think about its structure: train, fail, improve, and win. This is not just Japanese storytelling, this is human psychology. And this was not accidental, because Dragon Ball Z was deliberately edited for international televisions. It was designed to travel. In India, Latin America, and Europe, Dragon Ball wasn't just anime, it was the entire childhood. And once anime entered childhood, it entered identity. This is exactly what Nelson Mandela meant when he said, "If you speak to a person in a language they understand, it reaches the mind. But when you speak in their own language, it reaches the heart." Anime didn't just tell stories to children, it spoke to them in their emotional language. Now came the era of the big three. The 2000s belonged to Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach. But their real power was not their animation quality, it was their fantastic mission-driven storytelling. Naruto wanted to become Hokage, Luffy the Pirate King, and Ichigo wanted to protect his loved ones. Each hero announced their end goal clearly, publicly, and without hesitation. And once a goal is declared, the audience, they start rooting for a character to reach their goal. The writers of the Big Three understood that giving the audience a clear destination will make them follow the series for hundreds of episodes. But there was someone else that was even more influential than the big three in the 2000s. And yes, you guessed it right, Pokémon.
Top-rated TV show, Pokémon is an undeniable obsession with children across the country.
They're in high demand. Kids everywhere are snatching up Pokémon cards left and right.
Pokémon is not just successful, it is the most profitable media franchise in the entire human history. More than Marvel and more than Star Wars.
Right now, I am prepared to give you $150,000 cash for just one of your 7 PSA 10 First Edition Charizards.
The most expensive Pokemon trading card sold at a private sale is a PSA Grade 10 Pikachu illustrated card, $5,275,000.
And in 2016, Pokemon Go changed everything.
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon fever is back.
84 in St. Pete right now. Got a Pokemon? She's looking for Pokemon right now.
I don't know if you guys are seeing this, but I think this is a Pokemon Go stampede. Oh my goodness.
People walked real streets to catch virtual characters, and at that moment, anime stopped being something you watched. It became something you lived. And then came the COVID pandemic.
China has identified the cause of the mysterious new virus.
Coronavirus.
Coronavirus.
It's a rapidly emerging situation.
I have today declared that the coronavirus presents a public health emergency in the United States.
And it gave a huge boost to anime's popularity. Anime started collaborating with different video games, which was getting more played during the lockdown. People started reaction channels, reacting to different animes. Short form content started growing, and anime started finding more and more people. Also, anime short form edits were way cooler than any other edits. As people on the internet eventually adopt things that become cool, more and more people started getting involved in the world of anime. And eventually, watching anime became a cool thing to say. And around the same time, streaming culture also started getting its peak. And one of the biggest streamers to rise in that time was ishowspeed. And when ishowspeed, one of the largest internet personalities in the world, casually says on stream that he likes One Piece, then anime stops being a subculture. It becomes socially safe.
Like, it was just like bored, not doing all my life. Bro, I popped up. Bro, they put One Piece on Netflix. I gave it 1 episode. Bro, my whole life changed.
And once something becomes socially safe, it spreads faster than any algorithm could push it. And Netflix reports prove it. 100 million households watched anime in 2020. And that number grew to 150 million by 2025. And in nearly 100 countries, anime regularly entered the platform's top 10 charts. Today, more than half of Gen Z globally identifies as anime fans. But as Newton said, the streaming era brought global visibility. Attack on Titan changed narrative ambition, Demon Slayer changed anime standards, and Jujutsu Kaisen changed marketing. And anime has never looked better, but something darker happened behind the scenes. Streaming reduced financial risk for investors and increased pressure on studios. Tighter deadlines, more output, and less security. Quality has a human cost, and that cost is often invisible. And MAPPA represents the modern anime's contradiction, visually extraordinary and internally exhausting. Schedules are decided by committees, studios absorb the damage, and animators pay the price. And as anime went mainstream, something else changed. The culture around it.
I sometimes make like videos just reviewing the current state of like anime, and it almost feels like in this modern day, it's gonna sound weird now that anime is more popular than ever, but we're kind of seeing the death of the anime community.
It's been slowly spread out thin. It's gone from like a pretty like small yet deep community to now a really wide but kind of shallow.
Gatekeeping became a weapon. You're not a real fan. Discussions turned into competition. Power scaling replaced storytelling. Nuance disappeared and outrage took its place. Creators stopped being artists, they became targets. Shows were attacked, review bombed, and buried before they were even understood. And the recent One Punch Man Season 3 is the best example for it.
Hello, Mr. Animator, the #1 One Punch Man harasser here.
More fans did not create unity, it created factions. Anime is not dying, but the culture around it is slowly consuming itself. Now, the thing we talked about at the start of the video, One Piece. So why One Piece? Because it does not tell people what to think. It exposes corruption and lets the audience decide. This is why One Piece travels globally. It speaks rebellion without becoming propaganda. And this is why its symbols appear in real-world protests. Today, anime is not just entertainment, it is economics, psychology, and history. And anime did not conquer the world, it adapted, just like characters. And the question we started with, how anime quietly reshaped global culture, now you know the answer. And this story is far from over.